What's up, guys? Jacob here, aka Steady. I just want to talk to you a little bit about backpacks, different kind of backpacks. I'm sure you've already got a favorite style of backpack, or if you're brand new to the hobby sport, you've made a decision in your head of what you want. But sometimes you kind of get in your mind what you want, or you've been used to using a certain type, and maybe you've never used a different style of backpack. I've been fortunate enough to try all three of the major styles: the external frame, the internal frame, and the frameless. I still, depending on my mood, might take any one of them out on a given trip. So I just want to show you what I've used, kind of why I use it, obviously some of the benefits, and some of the cons to each one. And let's start off with this Goliath here, the old school external frame backpack. Now, it typically has a crossbar up top that I don't have on it right now. It's just something you can take off if you want to. It doesn't really change anything with the bag. This was probably my first actually nice backpack that I bought. It's huge. It's 80-liter capacity. But at the time, and I'm sure you're familiar with this situation, is you don't have a lot of money for gear, so you have to buy budget gear, and often budget gear weighs more, and it doesn't compact down as small and as tightly. So you may not have a ton of items, but those few items that you do have take up a lot of space and can be quite heavy. So that's a nice advantage of this external frame. There's a ton of space. You can shove everything in the kitchen sink in here if you so choose. And when it gets to extreme loads, 30, 40, even 50 pounds, you can still carry this thing quite comfortably. If you watched the Soggy Savage golf trip we took, I took this out, not because I had to, but just kind of hadn't taken it out in a minute for funsies. I wanted to remember how it rode, and it did quite well. It was almost hysterical because I have upgraded a lot of gear. It doesn't take up nearly as much space. So there's like side pockets barely have anything in it, front pocket barely. The brain here has nothing in it at the time. But it was still fun to take it out. A big complaint of this one is aesthetics for a lot of people I know. I think it's kind of fun to look like you're out there rocking the 70s and 80s. But man, you can't beat this thing up. This material here is, you'd have to drag it across rocks for 20 plus miles, I think, before you would ever really tear this thing up in any capacity. So for a beginner, especially when you're not really sure the proper way to pack your gear, this is great. You've got tons of attachment points. You don't have to put as much thought into how you pack with an external frame. And this one was like $100. I think you can get it even cheaper than that. My big reason for wanting to switch away was I wasn't super thrilled with these with these pads. I would get some pretty intense hiker hickeys if I was spent more than 3 days on the trail. And I stopped being a fan of that. So I wanted something with a little more padding, which led me to my next backpack. And I decided it was time to kind of move into the modern era, if it were, and I went with an internal frame. An equally large beast, as you can see. This is Mountain Smith hardware. It was still within like a budget backpack, I would say. I think this one was at the time $200. And it beat the hell out of spending $400 for a backpack that I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to switch away from the external, because there was nothing wrong with it. But the big draw is it's a little sleeker, and these just luxurious padded hip belts and shoulder pads was a big draw for me. I was slowly upgrading gear at the time, so some things were lighter and more compact, but I was still kind of in that range of things still being upgraded. So it was nice to have all of this flexibility with space to carry it. I like the way this thing rides. It feels really good. It's probably been on the majority of my trips. One thing is, man, I know some people say the external gives you a little bit more ventilation with the back. This hugs the back, obviously. I am just a sweaty guy, I guess. My back is always drenched, regardless of temperature, regardless of what bag I take. Some people like the way that the internal frames hug the body and move with you. That is one thing with the external. As you shift, the backpack kind of shifts independently. I'm okay with that. That doesn't seem to bother me in the least. But they're just obviously two separate backpacks, little slightly different features. I don't really know if I love one more than the other. My biggest thing with this one, the internal, is just I like the padding a little bit more on the straps. But as far as that, that's really kind of where my like, wow, there's a big standout goes between the two. Obviously, the internal, it rules the market right now. If you go to REI, that's all you're really going to see. You might be lucky to see an external. And I'm not even sure if they really carry any frameless backpacks, which is what I've moved up to now. As you start to dial in gear, you start to get things that are lighter, you start to get things that are compact better, and you start to figure out what you actually don't need to take with you on the trail. Your kit can shrink down pretty significant. Now, I'm not quite fully into the ultralight crowd yet. I'm definitely flirting with it. Hovering somewhere around a 10-pound base weight, depending on what all I choose to take. But I've decided to make the leap into the frameless backpacks, and I went with the Gossamer Gear Kumo 36. This is a fairly popular, you'll see a lot of videos with this. Man, so far I haven't really got to take this out and really run it through the ringer, but I really like this backpack so far. It's got a removable hip belt, which I've already taken off. I'm going to play with that just to see how I feel. I may throw it back on. I've also got the fanny pack for extras, which I kind of like for snacks and stuff. But this is just a simple pack. It's just it's not even really a roll down. You probably guys may have seen this one before already. It's just a simple buckle here, and it's just there's nothing fancy inside. I like that. That's my big complaint, especially with my internal. They start to get cute with all these pockets and attachments and zippers, and there's just too much. I don't need all that separation. I just need basically a pouch with straps to carry all my gear, and that's what you get with this. Anything I need quick access to, there's this huge mesh pocket, which I know I've got some buddies that have internal frames that have like a kangaroo style pouch or a mesh pouch on the outside. I really like that feature. Mine clearly doesn't have it, so my next backpack I wanted to make sure it does. And for this frameless, a lot of framelesses do. Extra bonus is this this pad here. I always take a sit pad since I'm a hammock camper. It's nice if I need a little bit of extra warmth underneath my butt or underneath my feet. And with this, this is already part of the pack. I can just pull this out and throw that in my hammock, or if I need a seat. Because as much as I love camp chair, that is one of the items that has been cut off the usual trip list. The biggest thing I can find with the frameless backpack is you really have to start being disciplined and really kind of dial in what you need and what you want to take out on the trail. There's not a lot of room there's a little bit of wiggle room depending on what style pack you get, but there's not a lot of wiggle room to just be playing with large items. So you need to really understand what you have and how small you can get it, because after you get everything in here, you still have to fit your water, you still have to fit your food. If you cook out there, you need that stove and all that. But I like that. That's like a new challenge. With my other backpacks being 80 liters, there wasn't really a lot of thought to it. Just throw it in. It's fine. If I don't use it, I'll live. But man, it's so much nicer. I have done a little bit of tests walking around with this, with that lighter load. I feel like it's going to make a large difference out there now that I'm trying to do some bigger mileages every day. So for me right now, frameless pack's the way to go. But if you're starting out, you will not go wrong with an external frame. There's a lot of weight shaming out there within the backpack community at the moment, which blows my mind. If that's what you want to carry, then by all means, please carry it. Don't let someone else's experience dictate what you should be experiencing on the trail. And also work within your own budget. Screw it if you don't get the nicest, most compact gear. Everything can't be carbon fiber. Get what you can get. Make sure that you're safe. Travel however you have to travel, and then just enjoy that trail. So that's my collection of backpacks, the external, internal, and the frameless. Like I say, I don't have a favorite. It just depends on my mood. Even though this is the new hotness, there's no doubt that these other two are going to make some trips with me in the near future. So hopefully that helps. And I'd be curious to see what kind of backpacks you guys like to take. Until next time.